The mainstream's in a maelstrom. Tucker is departed. If only we could speak to someone who's known him on the inside for a long time. We have done. Hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth and freedom. Within you, there is a great light. Serve that light and it will serve your life. Find the great and powerful love that exists within you. Don't let this system grind you down. You have a great power. I know you do. Turn on the notification bell right now so you receive these videos every single day that we make them. Tucker Carlson's departure has left the mainstream media in a real farrago, a real furore. Been treated as a kind of mainstream media propaganda catastrophe. Tucker Carlson speaks out against the war. Tucker Carlson speaks out against the mainstream. Tucker Carlson, I believe, is an interesting figure in new, emergent, peripheral, independent political voices. Even if you disagree with many things Tucker Carlson says or believes, you have to recognize he comes from a place of authenticity and isn't entirely beholden to commercial interest. Maybe you disagree even with that. Let me know in the comments in the chat. One person who knows Tucker Carlson even better than me, and remember, I peed in his garden, is Saagar Enjeti from Breaking Points. We had a fantastic conversation. We talked not only about Tucker Carlson, the mainstream media, and its total lack of trust and the way that it's falling apart because of its economic model and the way that cable news contracts are renewed every 7 years. Loads of inside intel stuff that you are going to love. We also talked at length about UFOs and ufology. It's a fantastic video. Stay to the end. You're not going to want to miss it. Saagar, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you.
It's a very kind introduction, Russell. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You've got a really nice voice, as a matter of fact. I think that sometimes in the back of my mind when I'm listening to you, when I watch your shows. But now that I actually heard you say my own name, I like it even more. Now, look, Saagar, forgive me being a media slut, but I know that you used to... What was that expression?
It's fine. Yeah, we'll go for it.
We're media sluts. We're just a couple of sluts together. Will you tell me, please, what it was like working for Tucker Carlson?
Sure. Yeah. Tucker, actually, I would not be in media at all without Tucker Carlson. I was 23 years old. He gave me a job interview for an opening at the Daily Caller. I really wanted to break into journalism, and I was really nervous to go into this interview. And he didn't ask me a single question about anything professional. He was like, "What do you eat?" And then we talked a lot about how I used to be a vegetarian and about the caste system in India. And then I walked out after 25 minutes. And I was like, I don't know if that went well or not. And I got the job. And since then, he was the kindest mentor. He always supported me basically from day one. And so I really can't say a bad thing about the guy on an interpersonal level.
Yeah, I know. We went on his show. He was the loveliest man. He was barefoot behind the desk. We went round his house. I done a wee in his garden, and like his wife told me to do it. Just go and pee over there. That's where Tucker pees. And they went, "Are you kidding me? Are you peeing in my yard? Oh my God!" Like that. And like, even though we talked about differences of opinion on cultural and political issues, it was an honest, in good faith discourse that I feel it's difficult to have in what you might call central left media spaces. And that's, I suppose, one of the significant changes that that's been occurring lately. Saagar, what we are offering is that Tucker's removal or departure from Fox is significant. It's in a sense, a marker of the transition from centralized media organizations to more independent media organizations. I say that with no knowledge of what Tucker might do next, obviously. But what do you think Tucker's departure tells us more broadly about the deterioration of the mainstream media?
Yeah, the mainstream media is crumbling here. I mean, I heard for so long about how O'Reilly, nobody could replace him. Tucker was able to replace him, but that was a unique situation. He did it by recreating him in the aggregate by bringing in younger people, dissident voices. There's nobody on the bench in Fox News that has any interest in that. And because why would you? What did we just happen? We watched Rupert Murdoch, the Australian billionaire, just axe Tucker. And from what I know, Russell, I can tell you from speaking to people here in Washington, and it's also been reported elsewhere, one of the reasons that Tucker was canned from Fox News is because he was telling the truth about what happened on January 6th. He was one of the people who exposed Ray Epps and some of the other alleged agent provocateurs that were present on January 6th. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah,
See?
allegedly. Just for the lawyers. For the lawyers here in DC.
We have a device for that. So you think it's
Yeah.
precisely because Tucker Carlson had become an iconoclastic and independent voice willing to speak out against both the left and right, in spite of the ongoing charges from people on the left that he uses dog whistle racism and all kinds of stuff like that. You think that, in effect, he's a peripheral and anti-establishment voice to the point where he could no longer be housed within the mainstream?
I'm almost certain that was one of the big factors in his departure. We should remember, it can't. Everyone is talking about Dominion. We should also forget, or don't forget, Tucker didn't have anything to do with Dominion. Yes, his text messages came out, but he was actually one of the only people on the network who aired anything dissident about her and said that she, quote, was full of it. So let's put that aside. Really what it is that the previous night, Sunday night, 60 Minutes here in America, did a segment about Ray Epps in a sympathetic light where they actually blamed Tucker Carlson and others for casting him as an alleged Asian provocateur. Well, he, as I understand it, at the very least, was probably going to mention that on his show. There was a lot of other stuff going on. I don't want to say this is the only thing. There was another lawsuit alleging like a sexist workplace or whatever behind the scenes. Look, I worked with a man for several years. I can say I never saw him do anything like that. I'm not sure what this lady has, but I do know that for Murdoch himself, Rupert Murdoch, January 6th was a major dividing line. He was always pissed about it. And I do think that that was one of the major precipitating factors as to why Tucker was ultimately fired unceremoniously from the network. I mean, he was the biggest star there. And look, I honestly think it is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, Russell, that millions more people are consuming your show, my show, people like the Jimmy Dore show, the Tim Pool show, Kyle Kalinske show. There's so many more out there where this is the demarcation point. You know, I saw a lot of people say Fox will be fine. Well, because they're number one in cable. That's like being number one in the classified ads business in 2001. By 2010, who cares? The business is gone. So you can be number one. You can be multi-billionaire in 2001. By 2010, you're gone. You're irrelevant. And maybe I'm too hopeful, but look at what you have been able to do in a shorter period of time. In 2017, I was working for Tucker Carlson. I was a White House correspondent. He had just joined the Fox News platform. Now I'm here with Crystal. We have a great show. So many other independent YouTube creators. Think about where Joe Rogan, who our mutual friend, was in 2017. Look at our exponential growth and look at their declining growth. So you can look at those two trends and you tell me where you think that's going to go. So I think this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the future.
It looks like there's an epochal shift taking place that goes beyond any individuals, but perhaps can be momentarily symbolized by them, particularly in this instance. Two other things I'd like to pick up on, Saagar, is the fact that in this new emergent space, figures that are politically opposed, like Jimmy Dore, you and Crystal, even generally speaking, Tim Pool, myself, all operate collegiately and civilly. And perhaps this demonstrates that there's been a shift from left versus right to establishmentarianism versus dissenting or peripheral voices. Would you say that's fair, Saagar?
Oh, I absolutely think it's fair. I also think that the medium is so important. Look at what you and I are doing here, Russell. We're talking. You've listened to me and I've listened to you. I've listened to you for hours. I'm sure, I hope you've listened to me for some period of time. We're sitting and we're having a dialogue. We're having a discussion. You know, whenever you've done news meet, one of your famous clips on Morning Joe, what I loved about it, but you've done this song and dance before. You come in there and you come to their studio and they tell you that they want to discuss nationalism or some topic which requires nuance and discussion in 2.5 minutes. I'm sorry, that's not possible. That's part of why the country is ripped apart in the way they are. That's part of why they're able to lie, because they have so little time that they're just focused on propaganda with no nuance intersected in between. I mean, I can't do a segment on the lab leak theory in 5 minutes. I just can't do it. It takes time. We have to go through the timeline from front to back. And here's the thing. What do you and I know? America, not even just Americans, people all over the world, because my audience is semi-global, which I always find fascinating. They want to hear. If you give them the opportunity, they will take the time to sit with you, to listen, to learn about something. I find that the people in independent media are 10 to 15 times more and better informed than many people who are just casual observers of the news. And it's because I think of the medium that we have. And for that, God bless the internet. And that's why we have to protect free speech and be against censorship.
It's interesting to contrast that with the rise of censorship and the doubling down on authoritarianism that centralized systems, be they media or governmental, are advocating for, either through the Restrict Act or through creating a climate of fear, anxiety, smearing, and cancellation. I wonder, is that something that you think may similarly be overwhelmed in the same way that, you said that the cable networks will become obsolete in the next 5-10 years, whatever?
I hope so, but I still think that the worst is yet to come. And I'll tell you why. At the end of the day, these cable news shows are still making billions of dollars. I don't think a lot of people understand this, and I want to always try and hammer it home. Cable does not make money off of viewership. Viewership helps. The vast majority of their profits comes from the cable news bundle, people like Cox Communications, paying Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC to be part of the bundle. They don't make that much money, actually, from advertising. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. Now, the next time those negotiations are up, let's say in the next 7 years or so for each of those platforms, they are going to discover that because of their declining viewership, they're going to make a lot less money. That is when, Russell, they are going to be stomping and using their establishment credentials to crush your show, my show, and others. Because when they see how little money they're about to make, they're about to be in the fight of their lives. That's when the knives are really coming out. So right now, unfortunately, I think we're looking at child's play. I think that the censorship battle 5 to 7 years from now will be absolutely titanic. They will be pushing, and they've already laid the groundwork for this. That's why the Restrict Act is written as it was. That's why the groundwork was made where CNN's media reporters and those people, they get to tell Facebook and Apple Podcasts and others to take down whoever they want. This is all just battle space shaping. These are like shaping operations in a war, but we haven't even gotten close. The first shots might have been fired, but we are years away from what I think that the real fight is going to look like.
Well, there you go. Me and Saagar are good pals as far as I'm concerned. Should I go on Breaking Points? Do you want to see me on there? Is there anyone else from the independent news media space that you'd like to see me communicating with? Let me know in the comments. Turn on that notification bell right now. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. They're both pretty good videos in my humble opinion. But more important than any of that is that you please stay free.